Okay. Now, all right, I'm going to go ahead. I think we can get rolling here, and others will join, and they can always, of course, see the video, the screencast. Now, I want to get us started here, and just get us in turn. Let me get us kind of our minds focused in terms of where we are in terms of the course. This week 11, I'm gonna cover the. Make sure I'm in the right pew. Yeah. This week we're going to look at some more at the. Pop us down to week 11, and we're running a bit ahead. We've worked, as I said, we've been working ahead in terms of working on these access cases, and we've done access case 1. Tonight I'm going to do 2 and 3, and then do 4 on the part 2 of this, and then next week, let's see, yeah, next week we'll still be at this stage. So next week I'm going to attempt to get 5 and 6 done, or we may just have to do them that week. So we'll see where we go, but we are working ahead. Now, over in the files area, or up there in the intro to at the end of each module, you're going to find the resources for the access cases. So, and I have mine, of course, here on my desktop, and okay, and we're going to look at access case 2, and that just a personnel database, looking at tables, queries, report design. And that stuff is covered over there in chapter 6, and this ACCDB2 key is up in the welcome module up in Canvas, and then Garden 06 is over in the companion files for the Lambert and Cox text. And let me pop back up there and show you that one. This is the text that we're working with, so we'll be looking at the Garden 6, which is in chapter 6, and then those files that go with the companion text are over there in the files section in Canvas. So we're going to look at that. Then hopefully we'll get through 3, and I'm going to try to do that. If not, well, I'll get as far as I can with it, and then part 2 of this I'll cover Garden 04, and that's over in chapter 4. Now, you'll notice I'm not real specific on pages, but there's a reason. When you go in those cases and you find they'll take you through Garden 06, the authors are going to walk you through several steps, step by step, in performing these tasks, like building a table, creating a report, or designing a report, using queries. And then as we look at access case number 3, which is the Abraxas office, that's another one where we got queries, customized sorts, that type of thing. A more practical example here. And then this one, this will show you a finished product. And this is where the authors walk you through, again, step by step by step. So you do have that kind of instruction there for you using the Lambert and Cox text. And then a lot of times I'm going to take some shortcuts that they don't do, but I'll try to explain that as I go along. And I know the access part of this case is usually more difficult because folks have not worked with it that much. So we'll go up into the welcome module over there in Canvas, and that's where we're going to find this case for the database for case number 2. And you'll want to download it to your desktop, okay? And I'll pop down here soon. Here it is. It's called ACCDB2 key. And you'll want to download it to your desktop so you can then save it and then upload it for your workshop credit. Now, I'm going to pop mine down on my desktop so I can open it up down there. I don't even know why I'm doing that because I've got the companion. No, it's in the welcome section, so I'm going to need it. All right, here we are. And you're going to want to go ahead and open it up and then save it. You're going to run into a couple of things in the enabling the content. You can click that. And then you'll want to save that on your desktop. And I'm just going to save mine as a database, access database, and I'll save it there. I'll put access ACD2, and I put like Harmon Keith, which will work. And then on your desktop. Now these are again some old case studies, but they've got a lot of nice meat to them, and a lot of the work has been done. One of the things I've tried to do is to prevent you from having to do, even if the authors call for it, a lot of input of data, just putting in records. That's the last thing I want to have you do. So often we're going to talk about that, and let me start first with this notion of record entry, okay? And there are really three ways we can enter records into any database. One of them is that we literally just type them into and enter them into the database and create a new record each time. Or we can utilize a form, okay? Or we can import data that serves as a table. So I want to go down here for just a moment and let's look at I think I have a skill. I think I have some queries in it, and let's see if I have any forms on this one. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. There's the queries, the report. Well, we can create a form. So here's what we're going to do. If you've got this one open, we'll just go ahead and create a very simple form. And click Create. Okay. And then as you come across, you're going to see a thing called a form wizard. You'll see it under Forms. And the form wizard is nice, but I think maybe a better one is to take it to the, you can utilize, they'll provide you some different types of forms if you want to. That's up to you if you want to have like a split form, things of that nature. And I see what I want to do. Let's see it. I'll look at the form design for, I don't want to do that. That's a view that we've got there. So let me create this. Okay. And I'm going to go hot for me. Well, that's nice. Let's try the form wizard. Okay. Try the form wizard first. And now this is the form wizard is basically a dialog box. And it lets me walk through, first of all, what table or query am I going to use as the basis for my form, okay? A form is designed to do one thing, and that's just primarily to make it easier for you to input data. As I said before, I named three ways to put data into a table. There's really a fourth, and that's an append query, and we'll see some of those. We might. But here I have this. I have these different tables, okay, and let's click on the table customers, okay, and you'll see all of the available fields. Now let's just put them all over there, okay, and then we'll click next. Now it's going to ask us, what type of form do we want? So we can do a little bit of tailoring with it here. And I've got it in column form. I could put it in table form. I could put it in datasheet form. I could put it in a justified form. Column form seems to be, in my experience, there's never been one really that I thought was all that much greater, although the column kind of gives a break. Now, let me say this. Today, it's rare that, unless you're just doing something for your own personal business, it's rare that people create tables on just a regular employee. It's typically going to be your database administrator who's been told we want to have some type of set of records related to X, Y, and Z or ABC. Because remember, a table is a set of records, and records are created when I take different dimensions or variables and put them into the same place, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But let's do the columnar, and we'll click next. And then we can what do you want to call it? We'll call it the customer's form, and we'll click finish. Okay. Now, as you can see, this form is going to be, it's got some real advantages to it, to just putting data into the table. First of all, I can do search. Okay. I can navigate through it. This I can go ahead if I want to and make it a little bit larger, size it up or size it down. If I want to customize this, I can right click here and go down to the layout view, or I can go to a design view, right? And it's the same story over here in the far top left. And you're going to see this is just a design fundamental, just like you have cars have a gas brake, then a gas pedal, and then a brake. It's just everywhere you go, it's like that. Same story here. Now, if you want, you can enter a new record, and once you input that record, it's added to the table. Okay. Now, I want to see if it's going to let me work with a split form here. So I'm going to click right, create. I guess it's not going to let me do the split form business. But the nice thing about this form is, for example, if somebody calls in, then I can do a search through this form for Alberts, or I can search for a customer number or whatever is important that I might have, like the customer ID, etc. So a form is not only something that helps me input data, it's also a type of report that's interactive in the sense I can search and find a customer. So when you call into somebody, or if you go into a website, behind that website, as I've told you before, when you come to the website and like at Amazon and you're shopping, behind it you're filling out a form. And they're going to have the date and time, all kinds of information on that particular stop by your point. So we're going to save the customer's form, and I want to do something with it here before I go any further. I want to click Database Tools, okay, and I want to come over here and I want to click Object Dependencies, and you'll see it. Why would I want to do that? Well, it's pretty simple. I want to find out the source of data for this form. Okay, and it should populate up here for me in just a moment. It says it's going to take some time to do that, and hopefully it will. All right, maybe it will. It's still working through the dependencies there. All right, well, it's not going to play nice tonight. Okay, good enough. We know it's from the customer, so that that doesn't really matter, but that's okay. Let's just stop this if we can, and we'll close it out. And away we go. Okay, now again, the customers is intended to do a couple. One, allow me if I want to have an interactive piece for a customer or someone who an end user, etc. It's for me to put data into a table or to populate it. That's primarily what it's designed to do. I'm really not understanding why I couldn't get those. Let's see if I can get the object relationships. I guess they're not going to show me those tonight. That is strange. Okay, now And the book will walk you through step by step on how to do each of those. Now, in this database, I have a number of tables, okay? And let's look at this first one called 1 month, okay? Well, finally, maybe it's running slow tonight. Let me close this. Okay? Now, I'll show you this here real quickly. The objects that depend on me, okay? The objects that I depend on. And this 1 month, this is what we would call a table, a fact table. And I'm going to close it off. You say, what do you mean by that? Well, real simply, and I'll fill this out. This table shows us the month. Okay, and I'll skirt this over just here so we can see it. The month, the ID number, the last name, and the number of hours worked by someone and their hourly rate, okay? Now, there are some other fields over here that aren't filled out. Gross pay, federal tax, state tax, FICA, and net pay. So it's a payroll table, all right? So we'll look at that. Now, typically, I'm going to have this table set up such that it feeds into another fact table as we go month to month to month. Or it may just generate a report. It depends upon what I'm after. Now, here we have for 2 months. I will open that up. Okay. Okay. This is month number 2. And then we've got a month number 3. And with each of these fact tables, if I want to now, I can combine them and run a query. I can run a query and combine those 3 tables and get a sum total for the quarter. All right. Now, I'm going to come down here to the queries, and I've got some tasks that were associated with that case. And let's look, first of all, at task number 3, okay? And I'm going to go to Design View. And what we've got here is this is going to give us this table, this query, excuse me, is going to, and this is a law firm, it's going to give us the skill level, okay, the rating, the first name, the last name, and any comments about the people who work for this law firm. So I'm going to just click here on the view, data sheet view, and I have that information. Now, again, I'll go back down to the design view, and you can see that I use the data from that ACCDB2 table that's there. Okay. And that's the data I pulled. That's the table I pulled the data from. And then I just pulled these fields. That's all I did. Now, when we go into use it, what we call the graphic user interface, it's pretty simple. Here in the top, and this is, you're going to see this almost every product you use like this. The table where I'm getting the data, whatever fields or dimensions interest me, okay? And then if I'm going to sort them, I'm going to sort them. If I'm going to put a criteria and filter them, I can do that. Now I'm going to go back up to the top of this table for a second, and I say, okay, I want to see everybody who was rated as excellent. Now, one of the things that you can do with a query is you could come in and you can use that query and you can do operations like filters. And I could, for example, come over here and filter and select and deselect. I could select everything and said excellent, deselect. I'm not sure if it will keep or it will save for you or not. I've had mixed kinds of results doing this. So typically, if I say if I want to do that, I'll go ahead and go back into the design view. Now, if I want, and there are going to be those times when I really want to, if I have anything quantifiable, any quantified data, anything that looks like it's quantified. And what I'm talking here is like the ratings, and these ratings are excellent, blah, blah, blah. If I chose to, I can run them and get a count of them, whatever I care to do. But if I've got some other numeric data there, I might want, if I have enough records, I might want to export it to Excel and do some of the data analysis there. But I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to go back down to the design view of this, right? And on the rating, I'm going to use a criterion, and I'm going to put like, excellent. Okay. And I'll come back up here to the data sheet view. And so now I've filtered all those records. I have everybody who's rated as excellent, and I have their comments. Again, the text is going to walk you step by step by step by step, baby steps all the way through it. And I think you can pretty much see, and if you don't have it yet, you've got it in the sense of how to do these manipulations. Now, we've got excellent, very okay, and so this query, I'm going to go ahead here and see. I'm going to go back to the design view, and I'm going to do, I want someone who's rated excellent and they're thorough. So I'm going to put like, okay. I don't know if there's anybody described in that way, but I could see, okay. And then I'll go out to the data sheet view. And I have an empty set. So I want to get rid of this, both of these criteria, and let's just see what we've got up here. But if we had two criteria there, what will happen is access will work from any database will work from left to right. The first thing it will look for is the dimension that you chose, and we can go back up to the table. Okay, we've got that done. All right, now let's see what I want to do here. This guy. Now, I also want to take a look at some other information here. So let's click on this. We've got let's take a look at, we're working on task 3. Let's go ahead and close that. Or let's export it, okay? Just because that's a more typical kind of thing we'll do. Now, you've got some choices here in terms of the type of object when you export. And again, you could export it into Excel. You could put it into a SharePoint list. You could put it into a Word RFT file. That's basically a Word with no bells and whistles. A PDF. You could send it to another Access table if you want to. A text file. You've got some choices there. And again, it's just going to depend on what's going to work with it. If you've got a lot of numeric data, certainly you're going to want to send the thing to Excel. Let's look at the products table. Pardon me. Let's go over here to the Austin Auto table, and let's open that up. Okay. Now this is a different kind of situation, but you'll notice the table has some different types of elements. And this one's got a little more of the look and feel of a database. So what are you talking about? Okay, well, let's look at it for a moment. And notice that we've got a transaction ID, okay? We have the date, that's when it occurred. We have a mode. We have miles. We have days. And we've got odometer readings. I'll pop these out. Registration number, how much they were charged, was it limited, etc. Well, let's go down inside of this and take a look at the design view. Okay. And this will give me a chance to talk about building a table. Okay. This Austin Auto, here's the basic table. It has a transaction ID, and the transaction ID is supposed to make every record unique. In a database, we strive to do that. That's what we call the first step in normalization, so that we make sure we don't have duplicate data, and we make sure that every record we have is unique. Now, I've got the date, and here I have a short text. All right. If I wanted to, I could make this what we call the primary key. All right. And I can do it here in this nice graphic user interface. I'll click here, and then I'll click the primary key. And this is now the primary key, meaning it's the key that makes every record unique. And if I want to, I can go ahead and with this transaction, I have some choices. One of them is to use an auto number. It's going to give us a warning message, it's going to change all this, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And I want to put it in an auto number. So better let me, you weasel. Well, we know that they're all unique. They should be. Let's go back up to the view now for just a second. I'm just going to let's do it. And so we have the transaction IDs. Okay, it's already started all those, so I'm a bit late in the game to try and put them in, to make them a unique number. But I can walk around that a little bit and watch. I've got the transaction ID. Okay. And we're going to come down and look at the field properties. When we build a table, we look at field properties, and that is how the data should be entered and any restrictions that we have. Now let's look at this one for this transaction ID. Is it required? Yes. So if I try to put in a record without a transaction ID, I've got a problem. Will it allow zero length? No, doesn't allow that, which means I don't have any null data in that column. Is it indexed? Yes, and that says no duplicates. What it means is each transaction is unique, and so I can't, if I try to put in a duplicate transaction ID, I'm going to have a problem. And then I have some coding issues and the text alignment. And so but the key pieces of this are, is it required? What do I allow a zero length? Yes, it'll let me, but that's not, I probably don't want to do that. But I've got it required and it's indexed. I could allow a zero length, I get. Let's put no on that. And just delete the yes and we'll put the no. And there's also a little drop down menu. And we'll save this. Okay. I'll go back up to the data sheet view. Save it. If I save the table, yep, I'll save it. Okay, I've changed the integrity rules. Now what it just said is you've changed the integrity rules data integrity rules. First piece of all of this is the transaction ID. And what I've said now is that it has to be unique, and they all have to be unique in order for it to be indexed. You say, what's the importance of the indexing? The indexing is extremely important because it's a way for the machine to take a shortcut in its search. If we know, for example, that you're looking, if we have transaction numbers and they are in sequential order as these are, notice they go from 54 down to 70, okay? Then if I'm after a certain, if I had 20,000 of these, the machine is going to go in and look for, it's going to go immediately to the place where it's going to be most likely to find records that match my search criteria. And that's what the indexing is all about. It's just, it speeds up the process. If, for example, if you have a database and it's going to search for the last names, it will go, if it's indexed, it will go to the bulk of those, it'll go to those letters where the bulk of everybody's last name is at. So that's just one of those ways that we ensure the data integrity. We're going to go back down in here to the field name. We've got a date, and we have it in a date and time index, a date and time format. Then we have a model. This is some model of a car, whatever. How many miles? Okay. Now let me stack back up here for a moment, and I want to show you something. Here's something that's bad. Look down here in the general field properties, and you're going to see, is it required? No. You're pretty stupid if you let this do. If you do this for a very simple reason. The record now will, the record, you could put in a transaction number and the record's saved without the date, which is, you know, it's insane. Why would you do that? Same thing with the model, same thing with the miles, days, the charge. You'll want all of these to be required. That way, if it isn't filled out completely, the record won't save. So this is a table that could use some serious work. Well, I'm going to close that off there, all right? And I want to scoot this back off just a minute here. And let me scoot it off just a little bit more. Get you back up here. I'll take that all the way over there. I could close that off. And then we'll get rid of this one. Now, I'll bring this back out here for just a second. And I want to show you another table, or a certain type of table. This is what we would call more like it. I'm going to open it up. This is kind of it's kind of a mix of it's a fact table, but the reason it's not what one would call a fact table is I don't have any data I can manipulate. All right, it's more of just like a list. It's a list of my customers. So it's archival in the sense that I have all my customers, their address, and all this business. And I can run some queries on this. And let's see, this is the customers table. So let's do that. Let's click create. Okay. And I'm going to come over here to the query design. Okay. And I'm going to add the customers table. And I'll close. All right. Now, I can select the fields that I want to work with one of two ways. I can choose the field here from a drop-down menu, or I can double-click up here. I'm interested in the following. I'm going to get the customer ID. and the company name. And then I'm going to get the state. And under the state, I'm going to come down to the criteria line, and I'm going to put AZ. Okay? In fact, I mean, just to be safe, I'm going to put like AZ. So this should give me everybody who's in Arizona. Okay? You've done this many, many times when you shop or whatever. You just didn't realize you were running a query. Okay? Now, underneath it, it's a little more complex. If you come in if you come down to the SQL view, you'll see there's the code. And once you've seen it enough times, you'll go, oh, okay, I understand what it's telling me. It's saying we're going to select customers. From the customers table, we're going to get the customer ID. And from the customers table, we're going to get the company name. And then from the customers table, we're going to get the state. And then from the customers table, we're going to get those only where the state is like AZ. So let's go back up here and see what we found. And here we got all our company. Here we have the companies in Arizona. Okay. Now, we'll go back here for just a moment. And let's go ahead and close that query off. And I want to open this customers table up again. Okay. Now, we're going to do something a little different, but I want to show you why these can be such a useful tool. I've got the phone number, state, the zip code. I'm going to close that table off. Okay. I'm going to click on the customers table and come up to export. Okay. And I'm going to export it to Excel. And I'll browse around, and I'm going to make sure I put it up on my desktop so I can see it. Okay. And it's customers, and I'm going to save it. And they'll click OK. Now I'm going to diminish my screen there for just a second. And I'm going to find the customers table, and you'll see it here. We've exported it into Excel. You say, okay, what's the point? Let's open this up. Okay. And this has now, it has that data that I exported. Now I'm going to close this off, and I'll diminish that down. And I'm going to go back up to my browser, and I'm going to click a new tab. And I think it's called Easy Map Maker. So I'm going to go Easy. I think it's Easy Map Maker. If I'm not mistaken. There it is. Create a map with Excel data. All right. Now click that Create a Map. All right. I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to get the customers. All right. And I'm going to get everything. And I'm going to scroll all the way down until I've got all my customers with all that information. Where did they stop? I overshot. 32. So I want to get this. Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to come back over here, and it says click here to paste data. I'll click there, and I'm going to make a map. It's going to start to, you'll see there, it's telling me I found lines including headers. And you can see as it starts to populate that data. Now this tool this is just like a kind of a baby tool. However, with this, we can make a map and get a sense of the spatial element or the location pattern or patterns of our customers. And it's working through all of those. And we had a full set of, you see, you have to have a full set of data. Okay, okay, so we're okay with that, good. Okay, and there's my map. Now, albeit, this is very crude. There are other products out there that are much better and much slicker, etc. And you can add templates into this. But this is not too bad. Given the level of training, I have to just click on, and now I know who these folks are. But more importantly, I can look for a pattern, and I can see I've got clusters of folks who purchase from me. I've got a cluster of people here. I've kind of and I'll get myself over here. I've got a kind of a cluster in here. And then I have this one outlier over here. So there's a definitive set of groups of customers that I do business with. Why would I want to know this? Well, shipping purposes, first of all. The second would be is I might want to know from these zip codes, who are these people? Okay, so I'm going to go back down here to this Excel file I've got, the customers, and I'm going to take the zip code 95678. All right, and I'm going to add a new tab, and I'm going to go over to Esri, E-S-R-I, Tapestry. Okay. This is Esri Tapestry, and I'm going to click on it. Okay. And I'll accept cookies, sure. And I'm going to come over here, and it's going to ask me. It's going to give me some ideas. It's going to show me what it can do, and learn some more about how they work. They're the best people in the world, what they do, and I'm going to do a zip code lookup. Okay, and it's going to ask me to input my zip code, and I want to put that. I'll put that in. And found. Let's see. I want to find the place to put my zip codes. What I'm after here now. This is strange. And it should give me everything that I want about this zip code, but it's not letting me get in here. Okay, let me do the overview. And then zip code lookup. Weird. Okay. Oh, let's export. Oh, here we go. I need to click start exploring. I am sorry. I've been over here for a while. Now, it's going to say select two topics: the population density, the median age, or monthly credit card charges, all kinds of information. This is their free tool. Most marketing people would, in the past, have died to have all this, but you can get two sets of data here. So I'm going to get the monthly credit card charges, okay, and I'm going to look at let's see. I'm going to look at their median age as well. Okay, so I'm going to select two topics, and I'll see the results. That's for this zip code 95678. And it's going to load this for me, giving me the market segmentation. Okay. And I can click on the median income, the credit cards, median age, segment descriptions. This is what I can do with a database. So I can go into each of those and get a picture or a profile of the customers there. And this is a little bit slow, but you can see each of the areas. Now, if I want to look at a ring buffer, see who lives within 5 miles of radius of the centroid of the zip code. In other words, the zip code, boom, there's a center point. Who lives within a 5-mile radius? Why would I care? Well, that might be the downtown or the city center, or maybe the strip mall of an exurb. It might be where I have or want to put a store. But I'll do the ring buffer. Okay? And it's going to give me that ring. Follow? If I want to do drive time, I can click drive time. And this shows me who lives a certain amount of time in drive away from me. Now, I do some work with local churches, and I will come in, I'll show them this too, and I can tell them this. When someone has to drive more than 12 minutes to get to your church, the likelihood of their attendance drops to near zero. The biggest bulk of people who attend a church tend to be within 5 to 9 miles. That's just across the United States. About a 10 to 15 minute drive. When you get to 20 minutes, it drops to nearly zero. So when people think, so when I look at a church that runs ads all over Oklahoma City, I go, you obviously haven't sat down and thought about the fact that the people there that see those ads go, gosh, they have a beautiful sanctuary, but they will never come to see you. So you had better start to think about direct marketing campaigns within a drive area. If you know how far people will drive to a Steak and Shake to have a Steak and Shake in Oklahoma City, somebody at Steak and Shake weren't thinking, because there are only 2. One's out by the airport, one's out by the Air Force Base. There should be more. This is the kind of tool that with a database that we could start to use and do some fantastic stuff. We created a little bit of a map. And we'll go back now to our database. All right, so we did a little bit of work with our customers. Now, if I want to create a table, it's a pretty simple process. I click create, and then I can create table design, or I can do table, okay? And it will give me, it'll give me a record view, and I can go down in here. If I'm gonna go back to the pure design view and get rid of this. Click create, and I want to go to table design. Here's where I put the field name, okay, the data type, etc. Now, when I was working with the customers table, and I'll open it back up, you'll notice that I had states, all right, and zip codes. Because I'm not handling a tremendous number of records, I don't have a lookup table. You say, what are you talking about? Let's go down to the design view and click on zip code. Now we see that there's some important stuff here for us to look at. First of all, if you see the field properties, then you see a thing called lookup. You say, why would I use a lookup table? This lets me look up another table. Because I would tell Arizona is AZ, Arkansas is AR, Alaska is AK, Alabama is AL, Oklahoma is OK, etc. Then with the drop-down menu, there's no mistaking what you input. So that's one of those in data, what we call data integrity rules we would do. We would create a lookup table, and it's just simple. I would create a table called states and zip codes, states and zip codes, and in one column I'd have the states from A to whatever is the last state in the union in terms of alphabetizing. Then I might have all the zip codes for a given state. I probably would have another table where I'd have the Arizona. I might have another table which has the zip codes per state. Yeah, I don't know, that maybe starts to get a little bit too complex, but certainly I would want to put in the zip code. Now I want you to notice something here. We have what we call some data integrity rules, and if you look here, you'll see in the input mask, we create a situation where the record has to be inputted in a particular way. Now click on that. Here's the phone number, okay? And so with the phone number and I can try it myself if I want to, but this makes everything has to be inputted in this particular way. And you've run into this before. You didn't know you were filling up a table for somebody through their form, and you're inputting the phone number exactly like they wanted. If it didn't, it wouldn't save. And then I've got the zip code, okay? And that's a caption, what we call it. It's the same thing. And then we have the phone number. Click on the phone number, and there's our phone number. It has an input mask. Okay. So these are, and your text talks about this in terms of building tables. I can't remember if it's chapter 4 or 6. And in chapter 4 and 6, they refer to the table Garden 4, and then I think it's Garden 6. So it's this company that's in the gardening business, and they're kind of giving you an extended case study. Now, I'm going to close this off for just a second, close this table, and we want to come down here, and I want to go back down to these queries. And let's look at task number 4, and I'm going to go to the design view. Okay? Now this one's a little more complex than what we've worked with before, so it's okay. I'm using the ACCDB2 table. How do I know? It tells me. The ID that's the primary key. A primary key is important also because a primary key can be embedded in another table. For example, I have a table of customers. Then I have a table called transactions. Customers have an ID number. That's a primary number. It's a primary key. I take that and I make sure that the primary key is also in the transactions. Then I can link people to transactions. I can link the two tables. I basically do. I basically take those two sets of data, A and B, or two tables, okay? And I run them where they match. And I'm good to go. Let's look at this here for a moment. I'm going to get the first name, last name, the hourly rate, the quarter, well, I guess that's the number of hours they worked, quarter 02, quarter 3, quarter 4, okay? And then we're going to encounter some new creatures we've not messed with yet. And these are called expressions. And this first one, I'm going to take it out here. I'm going to copy it. It's going to let me. The expression is nothing more. There we go, I think. Copy it all. And I'm going to take this over to, I think I have one of these silly, there it is, stickies. All right. There's a technical malfunction today on that file. I'm going to show you this. Now this expression, what I've done is I've created a field, but the field is an expression, and I've named it total hours worked 2008, and I did it by adding Q1, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3 plus quarter 4. Okay? This is an expression. Notice I did a couple of things. First of all, I put those fields in a bracket, and I made absolutely certain that they are spaced and spelled exactly as they should be. If I don't do that, I'll get what we call a parameter error. It won't run. But now I have the total hours worked for 2008. Now, if you're going to produce or write something like this, use a notepad or use one of these sticky things or use a Word document or whatever. Write, type it out, then copy and paste it into that top area. Otherwise, you'll be inside working in here, and it can feel cramped, and you can get, don't do that. Just where you can see everything. Now, you can see here that this is pretty, this is very straightforward. I'm just going to add up the hours that they worked per quarter and get the total. Now, if I wanted to do something with that, with those total hours worked, I could put parentheses around them. Let's say if I want to say, well, what would it look like if we had done twice as much business? Well, it's simple. I can put parentheses around these and multiply, and then put a times 2, and I've got it. There's a point when you're doing these expressions that common sense says put it in Excel because there's no point in going through a bunch of gyrations with these things. Put it over there where we can work with it, because that's what Excel's designed to do. So we can see this expression. Now I'm going to scroll over here, okay, and try to get this guy. In fact, move these over a little bit. I'll move this shutter. And now I can go after this other expression, okay? And this would be their total earnings, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I'm going to copy that and put it on this little sticky thing. I'll see if it's complete. Okay, now, here's another mathematical expression. I've got the total earnings, okay, and that's the total hours worked 2008. Now I've got it in brackets, times the hourly rate. And that'll tell me what they earned. Again, if I've got hundreds of records, and I'm going to just export it to Excel, okay? Because then you can do something with it. So we've looked at creating some expressions. Now I'll pop it back here, and I'm going to view it. And there it shows us the total hours worked and their total earnings for the year. Now we got people, and one of the things I do now, if it's Excel or it's anything, a data table, I take the first entry and I see if the math is right. If the math looks right, I'm good. 13 times 120 is 1,300 plus would be what? 300. It's gonna be 120. 10 times would be 1,200. 3 would be 360. So 50. I'm good. And you say, well, what if I wanted the average earnings? And this is when you go see Excel. Okay. So we've done some expressions here. This is somebody who said, I want to know how much did we pay these people this year? And I could even, if I wanted to, I could come in on the total earnings, and we'll go back into design view, and let's do this. In the design view under total earnings, click on the sort, okay, on total earnings, and we're going to sort them by descending order. So we'll see who made the most. Oh, it's going to give me a parameter error. Why is it doing that? Should it runs total earnings 2000. Hey, why would you give me a parameter? Let's go back in here. I want to see what I've got going here. Nope, I don't understand that. That's not good. Well, we'll do this. It's one of those mysteries I can't explain. I'll just simply sort it from the largest to the smallest, and there it is. I use the filter. Now, if I want to at this point, and this is just a tip, if I've got the data I want, okay, and they're laid out pretty nicely like they are here, I could, if I chose, do a print screen and dump that into a report, okay? Or I could export it and then dump the Excel file into a document, whatever I chose to do. Okay? So we'll go ahead and look at this jewel. And we'll close it off. I don't want to save anything that I've done there. Let's look at task number 5. Here's another query. And we'll go to the design view. Okay. Now let's see what we've got, what we have going on. Now, as you can see, I'm using, again, I'm using that access table number 2. Okay. And I'm using the field, the first name, the last name, the hourly rate. I've got the total hours worked. I've got the total earnings. And then I have the skill. And I put EW. EW probably stands for something. It probably stands for expert witness. So I'm going to go up top and take a peek, and it sure does. And it's going to give me the first name. Now, let's go back down. I want to show you something quite interesting. You go up here. I haven't annotated. I haven't done the annotation all night, so I'm kind of feeling bad about it. Let me go over here so I can like show off my animating skills. Yikes. Okay, now look, see? Isn't that impressive? Yeah, okay. Now, I don't have that box checked. I suppressed it. Watch what happens if I go ahead and check the box. I see, ooh, cool, huh? What would be a better way? Pretty simple. I rename the query to expert witnesses, total earnings 2008. Okay, so I use that. I can use the suppressor there to signal in a more elegant way what this is. And because I've got this nice little graphic user interface, I get rid of that guy there. I'm going to click back here. I'm going to close that off. I can just simply go back over here today because I can do object-oriented programming, and I could rename this. We've done the forms. Now let me say a few words about the reports. The reports are tools of Satan. I hate the report function in Access. It's not any good. Other products out there, SAS, Oracle, SAP, much better report. They're much prettier, they come out cleaner, and they're just much easier to use. The report function in Excel is just, it's nasty. And it's hard because it has very limited, high limits on space. And so if you start to get too many columns, you start to have to really do some work to create some subgroupings. And you can see this is expert witnesses of more than 250. Okay, it looks like one of the children of the corn had come in and done a little work. And you can see we've got some stuff run together here. That's why I don't like these. They're just awful. I think you're much better to throw it into Excel and print it up than to use the report and access. That's just this man's opinion. I hate the report functions, and I'm unbiased in that regard. I would rather take the data, throw them over to Excel, and put borders on it, give it a nice title, the whole schmear, so it looks nice. This can start, if you get beyond too many columns, it starts to look like junk, and you can spend an enormous amount of time messing with it. If you want to play around with it and you don't have anything better to do with your life, click on View, and you could say, okay, well, let's take this first name thing here and let's move it over. And let's take this last name. Holy moly, that last name thing, that's something. Let's do this. Move this over. And I'll move this over. See what I'm talking about? And then I've got to, I've got to move this one over. On and on and on. And when you're in a hurry, which most of you will be all the rest of your lives, you don't have to mess with this. So just take the query, the report function of the book, the Lambert and Cox book, which have the garden cases. We'll walk you through some nice things to do with reports, but beware, because once you get past maybe 4 or 5 columns, you're really in the danger zone for all intents and purposes. So just dump it in Excel. You're going to hear me say that many, many times. Let the database do what it does best. Now, I've taken, past couple of years, I've taken a lot of courses on cartography, digital cartography, making digital maps, location analysis, all that stuff. All right. And I can tell you that when you have a professional piece of software, it will do the job for you. If you don't, it won't. And the kinds of beautiful things you saw when we went over and looked at Esri tapestry, that takes a tremendous amount of programming, tremendous amount. So again, a word of wisdom from me, don't mess with it. So we'll close that. And so we've looked at this table too. There are several cases in here where we've done some work. Here's a case called Pelican Reservations, and I'll just open it up. Okay, and it shows us the day in and the day out. And I'm going to go down to the design view on this. Okay, and this is a table that we would use to populate a fact table. Or I could take this table and I could make a form with it. You didn't know you've been filling out people's databases for the past 10 years, did you? They're laughing all the way to the bank. So soon you want to be the one having people putting their data in a form for you. And the biggest of them all is our friends at Facebook. Every time you post a photo, I saw a thing yesterday, so cool. It was, Keith, here's your memories from 2016. And it was a cute little video, and he showed me pictures, and it was fabulous. Okay? And it was just a report with some kind of a little PowerPoint or JavaScript written in it, showed me pictures, and my wife came and said, oh, it's so sweet. Okay, to make me stay loyal while some 300-pound Russian somewhere in the middle of Siberia who's been sentenced to 25 years of hard labor has learned code and is working his way out of prison, hacking our accounts and messing with our elections. And I hope all of you voted. If you didn't vote, shame on you. Okay. Well, we've looked at ACCD2, so you've got that one, and you can upload it as this one for your workshop credit, okay? So when we go down here, you'll have that ACCDB2. You can upload it for the workshop credit. Now, it kind of corresponds to Garden 4 and Garden 6. And I'm going to take the Garden 4 and Garden 6 files correspond to Chapter 4 and Chapter 6 in the Lambert and Cox textbook. All right? And I'm going to move this over here for just a sec. You say, here's the Lambert and Cox textbook, Chapter 4, Chapter 6, you'll find them. And then the Lambert companion files, I have them in the files section of Canvas. And what you'll be saying to me a lot is, golly, I'm doing a lot of searching for stuff. Hello, it's a database course. So that's why I'm doing it. Now, let's go in and take a look at the Garden file. There are two of them. One of them is the Garden 06 and the other is Garden 04. And I'm going to close this down and I'm going to click on the Access Companion. All right, and this will give me, I think I have them out here already. Here's Garden Company 4 and then Garden Company 6, I think, as well. Company 1, Company 4, and there's Garden Company 6. Let's look at Garden. Let me see how the how did I have those arranged? Let me look at this for just a sec. I'll close this customers off. 6 and then 4. Okay. You'll want to consult, if you haven't already, Chapter 6, because they're going to talk about how this is put together. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Okay. And let's see, how do I want to do this? Okay. There we go. All right. I was in Mortal Kombat. This is read only. Okay. I can't make it. I'm going to put it up here on my desktop. And I'll be replacing a file. All right. I'll go 6, Harmon. And let's try that one. Now, the text is going to give you some narrative for working with this. Okay, but let's look what we have right here. First of all, we got a table called customers, and let's open it up. And we have the typical kind of customer list: phone number, region, etc. All right, postal code, country. Now, I'm going to show you how to make a drop-down menu. And I'm going to click Create, and I'm going to create table, and I'll click Table Design. Okay. And the field name will be Country. Okay. And I don't care about the data type. And I'm going to go back up here to the view. I'm going to save the table, and I'm going to call the table Country. Okay. Okay. And it says those are primary T. I don't care. I'm good. Now, I've got an ID on it, and let's just go ahead and we'll fill in the country, and we're going to do it in alphabetical order, and we're going to put Canada. Okay, and notice on the ID it automatically populated. And then I'm going to put USA. And then I automatically populated. And I'm going to save this. Okay. So I created a table called country. What I'm going to do now is create a drop-down list, a drop-down menu for country. So when the data are being inputted to the table, whether it's a form or you're directly working with the table, you have a drop-down menu. So you don't have people who don't know how to spell USA or how to spell Canada. You'll have a few that'll put a K there. And the whole idea of this is pretty simple. When your employees come to work on Monday morning and they've had too much Red Bull and a couple of domestic disturbances thrown in, they're probably not thinking about work. So you want to guide them, shepherd them through that process, the valley of death called entering the data from this last week. So I'm going to close off the country one. And I'll close off the other table. Okay. And now you'll see I've got the country table, I've got customers. Now, let's open up the customers table. And then let's go down to the design view. Okay. I've got the customer ID, their first name, and I come down to country. All right. There's the country. And you'll see there's a tab called Lookup. And I'll do a little more animating here. Show everyone how fabulous I am. There it is. And I'm going to click the Lookup. And now I'm going to come over and you'll see a thing that says Display Control. And I'm going to click over here. And I'm going to do a combo box. Okay. And it says a combo box. And so row source type. Okay, table query. And I'm going to do value list. Okay. And the row source, I'm going to click on this. Get rid of that thing. And see, I want my row source type. Oh, I want a table or a query. All right, yeah. And the row source, and then I'll come down here, and that's where I should be able to get my query, but it's not letting me do this. Okay. That's weird. Oh, there it is. Okay. On the third one, I'm going to click it, and I'll get the little blue thing with the 3 dots. And I'll add the country. Okay. Now I have the country ID, and I'm going to click country first, and then the ID. And I'm going to run a query, and it will show me what it's going to look like. And I'm good with that. And I'll save it. And now you'll see the SQL there in that third. I apologize about that. And I'm going to repeat it so you can see it's pretty easy to do. And so I'm going to close the customers table, and I'm not going to save it. No. So go back to customers. I want to repeat this so you can see how I do it. I'm going to come down here to country. Okay. And I'm going to click Lookup. I'm going to click Combo Box. Okay. It'll say Table or Query. And I'm going to click there. The row source. And this will pop up. There will be usually a little button with 3 dots on it. And I'm going to add country. and I'll click country in here first, and then ID, and I'll run it. Okay, and then save it, and it's going to show me the SQL. You see, there's that little infinity button, and then I'm going to come up here to the view. I'll say the table, and when I get ready to do the country watch, I'm going to have a drop-down menu. This is a data integrity step that allows me to not have someone typing stuff in. Okay? I could also do it with those regions that I've got. Okay? So I have those regions. So if these are my regions, then pretty simple. I use the drop-down menu. You run into these all the time. Now you understand what's going on when you do them. That was one of the things in this garden case that they wanted you to do. They also had some employees, and they had some birth dates, and they wanted to let you see, well, you've got the birth date, and then the date hired, postal code, and again, you could run some queries off of their postal code. You could run a query off of the state. Well, you know where they're from, but their postal code, their birth date, the date they were hired. And then we have some data on our shippers. Let's open up the shippers table, and we'll close the employees table, and then customers table. And we'll say, yes, we'll keep that. Now we have these shippers, and these are people who what we would want to do here is create a form. Okay? I'm going to create a form. It's not going to be that big of a deal for me to do it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close this off, and I'm going to click create, and let's see if more forms. Okay, nice. Click at more forms and then click split form. And this will give us the shippers form. So then we can input, you know, we have an ID here, and we can put in the last name of our shippers, their address, etc. And as we type in up here, it will populate down here. So I can see what's going on with my table. And all I'm going to do is I'll say, is shippers? Sure, I'm good to go there. And I have the shippers form. Now, I want to look for a moment here at the customers table. Okay. And let's look at let's do this. I'll look at the orders table. Okay. And the shippers table. All righty. I'm wanting to find a couple of tables that we can tie, and it doesn't. This needs to be popular. Okay, let's got something here. Employees. All right. Then let's look at customers. We have a full customers table. Yes, we do. Okay. All right. So we're going to do employees and customers. I'm going to close this off. And close this off. Now, we're going to do something here. We're going to connect a couple of tables. Okay? Click on Database Tools, tab, and then click on Relationships. All right? Now, well, we have these tied together already to an extent. And we'll explain to you what we got going on here. If I can get this squinch out for me a little bit. All righty. Now, I want you to notice we see these three tables are connected. Now, I'm going to put my cursor right here on this first one from the customers down to the orders table. And I'll click Edit Relationship. Now, what this shows me is the connection between these two tables. The customer ID, okay, is the primary key in the customer's table, but it's also embedded in this orders table. And because it is, I can link the two tables. Now, the link I have is an intersection, okay? And I'm going to click OK. And I'll click again here, Edit Relationship, and I'm going to put Join Type. This says only include rows where the join fields from both tables are equal. This is an intersection. So let me get out my handy annotator. I'm going to draw a little bit here. Okay. A little bit better thing than this. Oh, I know. Here's a circle. Very good. Here's another circle. These are each of these tables. This is a Venn diagram. And of course, this would be customers. Okay. I'll close this over here. And then I've got orders. Text again. I have orders. Now, they are joined only where the rows in the join fields are equal. This is an intersection, an inner join, the most typical. So the only records we're going to get, okay, are going to be these records right here. If I did a left outer join, I'd get all the records from the customers and only those that matched with the orders. If I did a right join, I'm talking about all the orders table and where they link up. This is a matter of what information I'm after. Okay, this is where databases become exceptionally powerful things. I do this. You say, why is that? My ability to join these tables means I can run queries on them, which means I can start to really extract data from these different tables, and I can start to get a better picture. I can start to get sets of records that give me a better picture of my business, my customers, what's going on. Now I'm going to close this off here. Okay, the join properties. You say, could you join other tables? Yes, if you cared to do so, you could. When you get a real true database, you'll get typically what we call a star diagram. And that is, we'll have one table where we have a whole bunch of other tables feeding into us. Now notice this is a one-to-many relationship. One customer ID can show up in an infinite number of orders. One employee ID could show up in an infinite number of employers. Orders. Okay, so this is why this is why we can string together all this data and get a profile of our customer, or we can look at patterns of transactions. It's the law of large numbers. And one of the challenges we have is this so-called big data. And what they're really saying, what real big data is, just it's unstructured data. It's tweets, it's nodes in somebody's Twitter network, it's locations from Yelp, it's my check-ins. My wife and I, we go out to eat. Sunday morning, we check in at church. Everybody on my Facebook who's my friend in the world knows Sunday morning, I'm in church. Now, I've been accused of being in the parking lot before, so to prove that I wasn't, I've often taken photos to say to those skeptics, yes, I am indeed inside the building. I'm not here in my underwear, just doing a location thing, okay? And then when we go eat, we'll check in. And if we go out to eat anytime, we check in, okay? Now, this isn't, I know, this is not exciting stuff. You start to generate a lot of insights about your customers and your transactions and what's going on with your business. And then it gets really exciting when you begin to make connections, when you know that people who buy a certain type of product are likely to buy your product, or people who live in a certain neighborhood tend to be people who would buy your product or need your service. I asked an interesting question the other day to the students that are taking the database administration course. Here's a question, a very practical business question that we can try to answer using these tools. Let's say that you are employed by Lowe's and you're part of a team of people to locate stores. Where would you put the store? In an area where the houses are older, or in an area where they're building new houses? Without databases, without maps, without the type of tools that we've seen here, you're kind of taking a guess. Now, there are going to be some other factors in there. One of the factors might be, okay, well, do I have how profit, can I compare these stores in terms of potential profitability? I can if I have a database that says in a store that fits the profile of where I'm about to go, here's the kind of profitability I have, because they buy certain things. Not all products have give us the same level of profits. If I go over to an area where I've had a store and people are building houses, I can look at what they buy because I have a database that enables me to do it. I can say, okay, here's the profitability I have from this store, even down to the profitability per item or per department. So I hope you can understand why I'm pumped about this, because you've got tools that can help you answer these types of questions. And this might mean the difference between you staying in business or you losing your business. Okay? When you're driving, pay attention and ask yourself, why do all the fast food places congregate in one place? My wife, one day we live in South Oklahoma City on the west side of 35, and we were going down south, what is 19th Street more, which is fast food heaven. If you can't find a fast food there to eat, you aren't alive or you're too picky. And my wife burst out and she said, "Why are all these restaurants here?" And I said, "It's called 110,000 cars a month headed west, 145,000 cars a month headed east." And she said, "Oh, you're just being a smart aleck." I said, "No, I'm not. This is a thoroughfare. This is where people come. And it's connected to Interstate 35 with service roads where there are even more restaurants." Okay? It's almost like I feel when I drive through there, I feel like I'm a pinball and I might bounce from one place to the other. So if I can't figure out, do I want pizza, do I want hamburgers, this, that, all, it's because somebody did some location analysis. That's the power of these tools. Now, we've done access case number 2, right? And I want to beam us back up here. And so that ACCBD2, you can upload it for your workshop credit for access case 2. Now, access case number 3, all right? It is also going to be up here. In this welcome area. So here it is. There's case 3. It's in WIP. I think I've got it completed. We'll look up here for just a second. 5 done. You can see I've just kind of collected these over the years so folks can have them to work with. I'm going to close this, download this. This is access case number 3. Okay. And I'm going to show it in the folder, I think. Maybe, maybe not. Is it going to play nice or not? I'll just try to open it up. Let's see what it's going to let me do. How weird. Okay, I'm going to download this again. And I'll open it up. Okay. And we'll enable the content. And here we have, this is a company called Abraxas, and I'm gonna open up their table. And these are people who sell component parts, okay? And they've got part codes, and they have a name, and then they have different models of desks and chairs, if I'm correct. And then they have a unit cost, and then how many units they have in stock. And so there's some different queries that we're going to do with this. Now, this is what we would call a fact table, okay, because it has all of these records. They're just nothing more. This is really a dimension table because it shows us the part code, its name, and then how many components we need for each of these models, and then how many units we have in stock, and the unit cost. Let's look at that. And so let's go into the design view of this, and you'll see we've got the part code, we've got a part name. Now the part code, and we have no duplicates on the part code, should be the same thing on the, it should be the same thing on the part name. A little bit of a problem there. So we've looked at that thing. Now, let's look at task number 2. And I'm going to open it up. Right? And in this task, we're asked to get the value of the inventory that we have. And so we have to do a whole bunch of expressions. And I'll click on the design view and I'll show you what I mean. Here's an expression. This is the type of situation where I should take something and throw it into Excel and do the work. Because with all these expressions, it's a lot, and I can make some mistakes quite easily. So I'll go back up here to the view, okay? But I can, if I want, do all of these calculations, but I'm looking at, well, I think I'm looking at really there's one, there's two, about 5 different operations, right? And then we'll look at task 3. And again, we've got the total parts, and they want to know, and then how many we had in stock. And again, we're doing some more expressions. And then we've got some part codes, and this is where we pulled out some particular, I could go into the design view, I can show you. Okay, we've got some type of an applier, a supplier or somebody, their name. Yeah, they had a coded name that first letter C stands for a vendor. Maybe they're having problems, if I'm not mistaken. Then let's look at task number 5. Okay, and here are the drawer, and here's it looks like the component parts for a particular model. Or these are okay, or these are just the part name, part code. It just lists the parts and how much they cost. You'll see down here they have a materials report and then materials cost report. And again, in this case, this is one of those situations where I have a lot of numerical data. I have some numerical data crunching I'm going to be doing, and it's going to be a lot easier to do this than to throw it into Access than it is to sit here and write all these expressions. So this would be case number 3 for you, okay? And I'll close that, but that would be ACCDB 3. And that was just to show you that the type of case where it's really just very bare bones and you really are just doing a lot of computational work. And this is some kind of a company, and their engineering department and different people and inventory people want all these calculations and estimates, etc. So we just really had that table there that we had to work with. So I'm going to close that back down. Okay, so that would be so that would be case 3. So we've done cases 2 and 3. Okay, now what I'm going to do for part 2 of this, which will be sometime tomorrow or this weekend, is I'm going to give you the part 4, and I'll work on Access case number 4. And before I do that, I want to do one final thing, and I want to look at that garden. And we looked at 6. This is garden 4. Okay. And you're going to need to go over to the textbook and take a look at it, but they will walk you through that whole process. And this is where they're having you, it looks like to me, I think you're doing some table design. Okay, but this is from chapter 4. Now, this reminds me of something I wanted to show you folks real quickly. And I go over here to the library. I'm going to go back into the Lambert textbook. This is an excellent textbook. It's fantastic. It has great illustrations. It's very clear, I think, in explaining to you. So if you say, Dr. Harmon, this doesn't, I really want to get the detailed step-by-step. Yes, okay? Feel free, because this text will do it for you. And there are going to be times when I'll come back and look at something like this when I can't remember exactly how I wanted to do something or should do it. This, for example, chapter 4, it will give you the chapter at a glance, and it's going to show you about sorting table information in tables, and it'll click you to a link in the chapter. Here it's going to show you how to filter data, okay? And you can click over. This is a walk through the chapter. This will show you how to filter information using forms. We didn't do that. So, well, how do they do it with a form? Well, it's simple. Here's a drop-down menu, like we just got through doing, and here is a part of a query where we say, like, why? Okay? And so we do that. We do the filtering. I think the filtering with the button is better, but that just depends upon what somebody's after. Then locating information that has multiple criteria. You say, what in the world is that? Here we are. Now watch what's going on here. I've got a table called customers, okay? And then in the customers table, I have all of these fields. So I'm going to run a query, and I want to get the last name of everybody whose last name starts with an S, okay, and starts with a B. And what you'll notice is this. You'll see the quotes and the S and the asterisk and then the end quote. And what that says is I want S and then anything behind it in terms of last name. Now I'll annotate it for you. It's going to be right here. See that? If you want to, you may need to bump your screen up a little bit to see it clear, but that's exactly what it's showing you. So it's saying anything, their last name, anybody whose last name starts with an S, I'm going to put like, double quotes, S, asterisk, which is a wild card, end of double quotes. You said, well, can I do the same thing for the letter B? Yeah. So I'm getting everybody whose last name is a B. Then I'm going to go over and do the regions. And I'm going to get anybody whose last name is like an S who is in California or Washington. This is what we call a nested query. And then if I look at the second line, I've got everybody whose last name ends with a B, starts with a B, excuse me, and they live in California or Washington. Again, it's a nested query. And you can go over and they'll show you, they'll walk you through all of that. And then sorting information, filtering, we've done some of that. And again, they'll walk you through the practice files. And they'll often will refer you back to some earlier chapters. So this is an excellent, excellent textbook. Pardon me. This is a great textbook, and it will link you up because it's digital. That's what makes it such a good text for you, because you go, okay, I can go back and look at chapter 2 and see where I might have missed something. And I like it also because if I was taking a test and if I'd had digital textbooks when I was taking a test, boom, I'd been highlighting that thing through every lecture I was at and then know and have it cold. So that's that one case, okay? And let's see here. Go back up here. And so those are garden 4 and 6. All right. Well, we've covered some ground. And so what I intend to do is I'm going to do access case number 4 sometime this weekend as part 2 of this. And I'm going to use the following resources. This is developing a transaction processing system, and I'm going to use a case called Cascade Pharmacy, and then Garden 11, Chapter 11 is what we'll be looking at. It's going to be drawn from that. Folks, thank you so much. Those of you who are here I know we'll have some other folks who'll come and take a look at this later, as well as part part 2. So thanks much, and we're done. Before I close off, anybody have a question? Anybody in here or out there? Any questions? Okie dokie.